Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope this thing is working, but if it's not, I apologize. I am doing the best I can. I've never live streamed anything before. So, anyways, this is the demo of the new game that I've been developing. So this is the demo of the new game I've been developing, Amalia, A Tale of High Adventure. It's a sort of 2D RPG, kind of in the style of the old NES games, and yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So without further ado, let's get started. This is just some lazy text I added at the beginning for the demo. It's not going to be there in the final game, but yeah, it's sort of just a description of like all the stuff that you'll need to know playing the demo that won't really apply in the full game. Like, it'll sort of be taken for granted when the actual game comes out. So there's, for example, F4 to full screen. It's an early beta, so the world's a bit empty, that kind of stuff. And more side quests and that sort of stuff will be available even in the area where the demo occurs. So, right now there's two major side quests. The first one you'll encounter as part of the main quest, and the second one is actually in a totally optional area. You can actually complete the demo without even finding it if you're just like going from beginning to end. So, yeah, the one in the town we're gonna do first, and then the other one's in the castle. And yeah, if you can't tell already, I'm not used to talking to a microphone. It's not a thing that I usually do. So if I sound nervous and awkward and all that fun stuff, then that's because I am. Okay, so get through the rest of this text, and here we go. This is where the game starts. Okay, and so here's the quest journal. It pops up automatically at the beginning of the game because I want people to know that it's a thing and see it right away. So you've got main quests. So you have started, completed, and failed. Started, you'll have main quests, and then side quests appear in a different one of these things. This is sort of one of the newest features that I've added. It's actually like only about 3 days old. Like, I added it like on Monday. So yeah, pretty interesting. Here's your house. It's pretty basic, and there's these paintings on the walls. There's paintings like this all throughout the game, and they're the title screens of my favorite NES games. So this one on the left here is the Zelda 1 title screen, and then this one on the right is Zelda 2 title screen, because I really love those games. And this chest here, it's actually locked right now, so I'm not going to be able to open it. But I will be able to open it later. So see, I don't have a lockpick, so I can't open it. But I will get one of those. Okay, so first sort of part of the quest here was to go to the inn, talk to the innkeeper, because if anything goes on in the valley, he knows about it. So, let's go up here and have a nice little chat with the innkeeper. And so you have options, nothing really cancels it. Stay the night, he actually has, well, a dialogue that I haven't programmed yet, actually, I just realized that. This is actually yesterday's version of the game, so the demo that's published will have a few more dialogues and things like that I didn't quite finish, but they'll be done by tomorrow afternoon. So here we go. Dad left over 6 weeks ago, was supposed to be back in 4, yada yada yada. So yeah, and just so everyone knows, if I run into any sort of bugs or glitches or anything like that, the version that I'm running right now is the latest stable one that I've developed, and it's from Tuesday. And there's gonna be a new stable version that I'm gonna finish like tonight at like 2 AM that's gonna fix some of the bugs and that kind of stuff. So I don't think I'm gonna run into any glitches, because there weren't a whole lot in this release, like, and I found most of them, like, on Sunday and Monday afternoon. I was doing a lot of checking, and so I think I found almost all of them by the time I made this version. There's, like, I think 2 glitches that are still here, and so before I talk to him, I'll show you. In the quest log, it automatically updates when you do things, so the objective, speak to the innkeeper, is now complete, and I got 2 objectives from him, speak to the blacksmith, or speak to the neighbor. The speaking to the neighbor is optional, that's sort of a story thing. So, now we'll talk to the blacksmith, and he progresses that main quest. He also gives us a side quest that's unrelated. We can do it, or we can totally skip it. But I'm gonna do it. So yeah, so this is progressing the main quest. The elf wizard is going to be leaving town too. I should add him to the party. And then his sort of additional dialogue here is giving me a side quest that I can either accept or refuse. So my dad owes him money, and so he won't sell me weapons or anything until I help him out with something. So the carpenter owes him money too, and owes him more than your dad does, so if you can collect on the carpenter's debt, he'll cancel yours. And so he gives you some lockpicks to go sneak into Kalen's house and retrieve the money. However, that's not the only way you can resolve the quest. So like, if I wanted to, like, for example, talk to Kalen, you know, like, I can talk to him instead, and that is a way to resolve the quest. So let's see here. So 5 lockpicks added to the inventory, accepted a side quest, quest journal updated. And here's the note about that. So although he asked me to retrieve the money from Kaylin's house, there's usually more than one way to resolve a side quest. For example, I could go to the tavern and speak to Kaylin. There's actually 4 ways to resolve this side quest, and they're all very different. So yeah, creativity is often rewarded. So what I'm going to do real quick to show all the different possible solutions is I'm going to save. Save file 1. Save file 2. And the reason I'm saving twice is because there's an autosave system that's like actually kind of broken right now. I'm going to be disabling it for the demo. So I make the 2 saves there, and that way I'll be able to come right back to that point. And so the first solution is the one where you're kind of breaking the law a little bit. Go into Kaylin's house. Open the door with one of the lockpicks he gave me. The door's now unlocked. Open it up. Here's the chest with his belongings, and then here's a sort of moral question when you open the chest. There's a sack of money that's 10 times what he owes, and so you can choose to only take the amount he owes, or you can take all of it and abuse your reputation. And reputation is a thing that's going to become more important later in the game. So I'm going to be a good person and only take 150, but if I took more than that, it would abuse my reputation, which hasn't really been implemented too much aside from it goes up and down, but it doesn't affect anything in sort of the first chapter. But once you get to new villages and things like that later in the game, stuff that hasn't been put in yet and won't be in the demo, if you have a bad reputation, then certain shopkeepers won't sell things to you. And if your reputation is high, certain bad people won't deal with you. So it's sort of a choice that you have to make. Okay, so back already, collected Kaylin's debt. Yes, I have. And then there's a custom text that appears for each possible solution. So, for sneaking into his house and taking the money while he was unaware, I gained 30 EXP, which is the standard quest reward. My reputation changed by -1, because breaking into someone's house and taking their money, even if they do owe it to someone, it's not really right, so kind of hurts my reputation a little bit. And so the debt's forgiven, gives us free weapon, etc. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the menu and load the save. So continue here. So yeah, and what I meant when I said earlier that the autosave system was broken is it saves over, like, it saves no matter what every time you enter a new building. And you're supposed to be able to turn it off, but you can't turn it off right now. So I'm actually just going to totally remove it for the demo that's released tomorrow. But it's still in this version, which is from Tuesday. Okay, there we go. So I've double saved. And so now, the next possible solution is there's this guard here. I can talk to the guard and tell him about the quest to retrieve Kaylin's debt. And then this guard is actually going to go collect the money for me to prevent any misunderstandings, because he doesn't want me to get beat up by an angry carpenter. So this is the law enforcement solution, where instead of resolving the problem yourself, you go to a guard. And a lot of solutions that involve, like, a lot of quests that involve sort of legally dubious behavior will have a solution like this, where you can talk to a guard in the town, and then he goes and solves the problem for you. But there's a downside to doing them this way, which is it reduces the EXP reward substantially, and you also get the lowest reputation increase, because you involved law enforcement instead of, you know, sort of resolving it in a more peaceful way. Alright, so here we go. Resolved the issue by involving law enforcement. Since I didn't do any of the work, I only gained 10 EXP and my reputation increased by +1, which is the lowest improvement you can get from this quest. Alright, and then weapon, and then, so now I'll go ahead and reload those saves one more time. There we go. And solution 3 is the one that was mentioned in that text, is going to the tavern here. And Kalen's this guy here. You kind of just gotta talk to people until you find him. And so I talked to Kalen and have a dialogue here. And this is one of the other features that's been implemented here, is there's a persuasion system. So he's not particularly amenable to the request. I have to try and convince him. So I'll sort of skip through the text here, but the way it breaks down is for dialogues, if it's green, the chance is over 75% of success. If it's yellow, the chance is 50 to 75%. If it is red, the chance is under 50%. But for success, the reward for logic is only a 1% increase to the speech stat, whereas for yellow it's 2%, red it's 3%. And that speech stat permanently improves your chances of winning these. It basically adds on to whatever the hidden value is here. So if the chance is 75%, the base chance on a green one, and then I have a speech skill of 10 from doing other ones of these, then the chance becomes 85%. So, logic is a guaranteed win on this one, and that makes sense because this dialogue here, that would convince him, 100%. If the guy can put him out of business, of course he's going to pay him back. So that one has a 100% success chance. And some persuasion attempts will actually show like sort of a short sentence of what you will say. And then some of them it's like that where it's just a single word. And I'll decide which I think works better as development continues. So yeah, so my speech skill increased by 1, so now I have a 1% higher chance of passing all speech checks in the future. And then I got the 150 to pay off the debt. And then I could go back to the blacksmith and I'd get another solution thing there. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to skip that and reload the save and then show you the 4th solution, and then we can move on. So, here we go. Oh wait, I messed up my saving. Oh well, so the 4th solution, I'll just say what the 4th solution is. It's you just pay the blacksmith out of your own pocket instead of the thing. But that sort of illustrates what's wrong with the autosave right now, so I'm just gonna remove the autosave feature in the version that gets sent out for people who want to play it. So I'm gonna go ahead and shop, and weapons, armor. I'm actually not going to get anything from him here because I can get better stuff very soon, so I don't want to waste my money there. But anyways, so the quest, all quests, Kalen's debt completed, and all you have to do to complete the quest is give the smith 150 GP to cover the debt. He doesn't care how you get it. So you can actually just give him your own money, and that is actually the best outcome as far as EXP and reputation goes, because it's a very charitable thing to do. And then as you can see, the main quest also updated from talking to the blacksmith, so now I still have that optional quest, and then I can also speak to the elf wizard Katari. And I am going to skip that optional one, because that one kind of reveals some little plot details that I want to be kind of a reward for the people who go the extra distance and do the optional objective. But now that I have lockpicks from the smith, I can open up the chest here. And in the chest, there's a old steel sword, travel-worn cloak, leather gloves, and some money. So I'm gonna go ahead and equip all that stuff right now. Old steel sword, accessory, there we go. And I'll skip the Arin thing. That's gonna be for people who actually play the demo. It's got some plot details in it that start off subtle and get big quick. So little things like that are ways to like learn about the world, but I don't want this stream to take literally forever. Like, we're already like 20 minutes in. So here we go, nice little cutscene. Yeah, and I try not to talk during things, and James Chazar has a question. What do you think about autosave only in front of certain buildings instead of every building? So right now autosave is broken. It activates on map changes. The issue with it is like, I don't want it to do that. Like, I'm just trying to figure out how to implement it, and I haven't really figured it out yet. So I'm gonna be disabling it for the demo, so you can only manually save, and I might actually just not even have it in the final game, because a lot of classic RPGs, like on the NES or the Super Nintendo, they didn't have a autosave feature, so I don't think it's necessary. So it's sort of a quality of life thing that if I can make it work well, I'll do it. But if I can't make it work well, then I'll get rid of it. Okay, there we go. So now we have Katari in the party, and we are able to leave town. I didn't show it earlier, but there's an invisible barrier that stays, that will knock you back right here. It knocks you back to about here if you don't have Katari in the party. So, that's sort of a feature to make sure that people don't leave town totally unprepared. And a nice cutscene. Okay, and here we go. Here comes the tutorial battle. Alright, and the battle system in this game, I feel like this is like where the game is really gonna shine. It's a sort of custom battle system that's a mishmash of a few different things that I liked, but it also attaches different value to having different kinds of weapons. So swords, for example, have the highest attack of any weapon type, but they also have the worst armor penetration. So armor penetration determines how much the opponent's defense is reduced by, and also what the minimum damage the weapon can do is. So with swords, it's 20%. So with a sword, it's great against someone who has no armor, but if you're up against a opponent who's wearing armor, then it can reduce your damage down to as little as 20%. Whereas hammers, it's 80%. So hammers do less total damage, but they're way better against armor. And I'll try and show that later on in the video. The final boss has some armor, so I'll be able to illustrate it there. Okay. And Katari here has a fire staff, so that gives him a spell that's free. Magic staffs have a spell attached to them that you can cast without using MP. And Amalia's attack is slash because she has a sword. So the weapon that you have equipped replaces your primary attack. And that's how I do the different damage calculations. Okay. There's one dead goblin. Alright, and here he's describing what I was talking about with swords and stuff. You can also change your equipment in battle, which makes having the right weapons more relevant. That's the thing, and it doesn't take up a turn. I don't believe it takes up a turn. I've been switching it back and forth, so I'm not sure. But I'll actually see right now if it takes up a turn. So equip, I'll just have him switch his equipment. Alright, yeah, it does not take up a turn, and that's how I want it to be. I wasn't sure if I had switched that back or not. Okay. So yeah, you can switch your weapons and your armor in battle, and I have it set up that way just so you can actually, like, have a stockpile of different kinds of weapons and then pick the ones that are most suited for the kind of battle that you're in. So like, if you have a sword equipped and then you go into battle and the enemy has, like, some heavy armor on, you can just switch to a warhammer or something like that to have the right weapon for the situation. Another 2 goblins. It's rare to run into them twice like that, because they're not the most common enemy out here. So yeah, right now in the demo, there's only 3 enemies in the demo. There's actually going to be about 10 different enemies just for this area. But it takes a while to do the artwork for them and then, like, program all their stats and that kind of stuff. So right now there's only 2 for the demo. I'm actually going to probably have the 10 done next week or something, like, so for people who are actually going to play the demo, like, it's not just goblins and kobolds and a boss for this area. There's actually going to be, like, little things like there's going to be wolves and that kind of stuff. Like, it just takes a while to do all the art and that kind of stuff. I wanted to get the demo out to keep interest up. Like, I was like, okay, I've got something that's playable. I want people to be able to play it, you know, and see what the game's all about. And so this is the castle. It's a totally optional area. You can literally just walk right past it and end up in the Deep Road, which is the first dungeon in the game, and it's also where the demo ends. Like, there's a boss at the end of it, and then that's where it ends. Okay, so Banneret Larson here. What brings you to the castle today? You know, have this conversation with him. Basically, what you would realistically say. You're asking the Banneret if he can assist you looking for your dad. So yeah, so we've just gotten the quest. I'm going to do the same saving thing that I did before. Save over 2 files, because the autosave only saves over the most recent save. Again, it sucks, but it's on in this version. I'm going to turn it off for the publicly available demo. Okay, so leave the castle and go to the Orist farm. And so here is Orist. I wanted to have this be kind of a little funny thing where he mistakes you for someone else and then tells you his whole plan before realizing that you're not who he thinks you are. And then the person who he thinks you are shows up. Alright, and so here's 2 persuasion ones. If I tell him not to pay it, since that's already what he wants to do, that's a guaranteed success. If I say pay to keep the peace, that has less chance of success, but I'll pick that one first, because a failure in this persuasion attempt essentially does almost the same thing as the first option. So I will go with this one. And see if it succeeds. It succeeded, good. So that'll make it easy to show the 2 possible solutions. Or 3, rather. Okay. We got the +2 speech. And so this is the solution that has the least impact on the world, because I've essentially convinced him to not break the law. So, so what it does is essentially just resolves the quest without a huge impact on the world, whereas the other 2 solutions will actually have major repercussions later on in the game, and you'll sort of see a little sampling of that. Like, it's hard to show that something will have a bigger impact later on, but I'll sort of describe it as we get to it. So, so with that solution, he's agreed to pay, and then I go back to the castle and talk to Orist and tell him that he's agreed to pay, and I get the quest reward. I'll just go ahead and do my little save reload thing to show the other solutions. So I continue. There we go. Load this up. Alright, and so the other 2 solutions are basically, once I get to him and go with the telling him not to pay the tax solution, then I get 2 options based on that when I go back to speak to the Banneret. So if you convince him to pay, you just go back and tell the Banneret that he has agreed to pay, and then your problems are solved. I'll just sort of fast forward through all the dialogue here, because we've already seen it. Alright, and now I tell him, don't pay it. And so then, so this is the way you can make the most money off the quest. Is now I can go back and I can either lie to the Banneret, or I can essentially just be like, okay, I was lying to him, and tell the Banneret the truth that he's planning to rebel. And the repercussion that this will have The immediate repercussion is that you get more money if you lie because Orest has paid you off. But if you tell the truth, you get less money, but your reputation goes up. And later on, the repercussion is that if you lie and help Orest rebel, Orest ends up taking the castle and becomes a tyrant later in the game, spoiler alert. Or if you tell them the truth, he gets executed. So it's actually going to have like a major impact on the game world. It's not just going to be one of those quests where you solve it and then as soon as it's over, it's like it never happened. I didn't want to really have many quests like that in the game. I like for everything that the players do to actually have an effect. So here we go. So now we go back to the banneret. So now we get the option. We can tell him Orest plans to rebel. It's not a persuasion because it's the truth. Or I can lie. And there's a slight chance it will fail. But the chance is so small that I don't think that's going to happen. But I'm not going to go with that one. I'm going to go ahead and just tell the truth. Orest plans to rebel. And spoiler alert, Orest does not plan to hold an election. He plans to make himself a king. You know, that's... I was hoping it was a little bit obvious in the dialogue and such that he doesn't really have noble aspirations. I might make it a little more obvious. I can always edit dialogue if it's not quite clear enough from what he's saying. Okay, and now I can purchase weapons from the smith, and I get an 1000 GP bounty, because that's the standard bounty for traders, because Orest is going to get executed. Not in the demo, that's like a Chapter 2 event, but essentially for most side quests, after you resolve the side quest, there's an after effect from it that shows up in the next chapter. So it might be a cutscene that happens where you see the result of your actions, like how it affected the world and such. Okay. For foiling Orest's plan, gained 4 reputation, 75 EXP, and 1000 GP. And now I can go to the smith, and I'm able to buy weapons and armor from the castle smith now, which are better than the stuff in the village. And most areas on the map will have something like this, where if you complete a side quest for like the castle or a noble or something in a different area, then you're able to buy weapons from the castle instead of just the village, and they're going to be better weapons than are available in the village. Okay, so I can buy some, look at weapons. And so there's one-handed weapons here and then two-handed weapons. And the two-handed weapons prevent the use of a shield. And shields are very good to have. They're the only way to really boost your defense without affecting your agility. So I'm not going to go with the two-handed weapons because I don't have very heavy armor, and you kind of want to pair them with heavy armor. I'm instead going to go with spiked hammer and the arming sword. It's better than the sword I have right now. And so I will equip the arming sword, and I'll just hold that hammer in reserve. Alright, I'll sell off these two weapons that are not really useful to me. And I'll talk to him again and go for armor. And so now there's light armor and heavy armor. So the light armor here is gambeson, padded cap, padded gloves, and then the heavy armor is mail. So I'm going to get the shield first because I definitely want that. It improves defense without affecting agility. So I'll buy that. Alright, and now for armor, I'm going to go with the light armor. The heavy armor is good for a tank. There's going to be spells in the final game that allow you to force an enemy to target a specific party member. And so you'll want to have a tank in the party and then constantly be casting that spell on them. It lasts a certain number of turns. And that'll force the enemies to target the guy who's wearing the heavy armor, and then everyone else can have light armor and move faster. So I'm going to go with the light gambeson, padded cap, padded gloves. And I'll also get a, let's see, I'll get a padded cap for Katari also, because he doesn't have a whole lot of armor right now. So equip, head, body, padded gloves. And so you'll notice my agility is down to 92, and 100 is normal speed. You gain +1 agility per level, and leveling doesn't affect you that much in this game. It's more about equipment, and that's sort of a realistic thing where in real life, no matter how good you are, you're not going to be able to take on 100 weak people. You might be able to, if you're super strong, you might be able to take on like 3 or 4 people in real life. You won't be able to take on like a horde. So that's one of the things that I'm going with in this game for realism, is leveling up only improves your base stats a little bit. The main way to make yourself better in the game and make your characters better is to get better equipment. So there we go. Got her equipped, and gotta equip Atari also, or Katari rather. I just called him an Atari. Okay, padded cap. So now his defense is up to 10. Not super high, but it's a lot better than it was. Okay. So now that I've got that sorted out, I can go onward to the dungeon. Here we go, first dungeon of the game, and the only dungeon in the demo. The demo ends at the end of the dungeon, actually. This is the old guard barracks. Open it up. Yeah, I'm gonna set it so there can't be encounters in that room, too. There's not really any big reason to do that, but it seems kind of nice to have the room sort of be a safe zone. So I think I'll change that. I might change it before the demo, I might not. It depends on how much work it'll actually take to set that up. Alright. And Katari starts off with a good repertoire of low-level spells. So he's got 3 attack spells for the 3 major elements. So 1 spell per element there. And then he's got a healing spell. And I thought that made sense because he's already a magician. You know, he's not, you know, like somebody who's learning magic for the first time. So I wanted him to have some spells from the start. And as the game progresses, you're able to get more, but it's a lot harder to get new spells in this game than it is in most RPGs. Like, there isn't a store that sells them. They're usually like, you get a book, you learn them from books, and the books are usually like a side quest reward or something like that. Okay. There we go. Message, and then sleep in the bed. There we go. And so the bed restored all the stats. And so now we can continue onward. I'm surprised I haven't seen any kobolds yet, actually, because they're supposed to be just as common as the goblins. But I'll need to check and make sure that I've got the formula right on that, because I've seen a lot of goblins and no kobolds so far. And they're supposed to show up with equal frequency. Here we go, kobolds. So they're sort of an alligator-looking dude, and the kobolds have a broken sword and a pitchfork. And one of the things too with the kobolds is, or the game in general rather, is the enemies have the same rules applied to them for attacking and defense as you do. So, like, their sword does more damage, but if you've got good armor, it does down to 20% of its damage, whereas their spear can only be reduced down to 40. So you might have seen a second ago, one of them did 7 damage with his sword, and then the other one did 10 damage with his pitchfork, because that's counted as a spear. So the spear was better because Amalia was wearing some decent armor now. But I'll be able to illustrate that very strongly in the boss battle, because the boss actually has decent armor. This guy just has a shirt, so like I wouldn't really be able to demonstrate too much about armor on him. And the passage I passed on the left is sort of an accessory area. I don't feel any great need to explore it for the purposes of this demo. It's essentially some storerooms that you can go through, and you need more lockpicks than you got from the blacksmith to get through there. And you can get more lockpicks at the end. So, like, 5 is enough for doing all the important stuff. Like, you actually only need, like, 2. You know, if you're skipping all the extra stuff, you only really need 2. Technically, you don't need any of them, because you can actually just totally skip that quest. But they're helpful. The area I skipped has 3 locked doors and then 7 locked chests with varying rewards in them, some of which are kind of funny. You can get more lockpicks at the end. If anyone watching is going to play the demo, that's sort of where you want to go to get those. I'll just go through these battles, just spamming the hits on them. For these low-level enemies, you can just spam the hits. The switching weapons is more for, like, enemies who have armor on, which there are going to be enemies with armor, so you actually have to think about fighting. Whereas right now, the only 2 mob enemies in the game both have light armor, so I can just spam sword and fireball and it'll take them out. But in the final game, there's going to be about 10 enemies in the valley in this area, and about, like, I think 2 or 3 of them are going to have armor. That, so you actually will have to, like, think, okay, I should switch to a Warhammer to deal with these guys, sort of thing. And so something you might notice, too, with how the turn system works, is you'll notice that Katari is acting a bit more often than Amalia is, and that's because Katari is faster. So this is his 3rd turn. And, Amalia, I think that's her 2nd. Katari, I think his speed is about 105 right now. Amalia's at, like, 92. So Katari is going to get to move more often than the other characters on screen. And the idea there is, since armor weighs you down, the people who have more armor on don't get to act as often. So yeah, right now combat's still a bit rudimentary. I've been considering adding in a thing that shows turn order, but I think not knowing the turn order, like having to actually think about who's going to be up next, I think that adds some depth to the combat, actually. Like, I think there is such a thing as giving too much information. Okay, here we go, boss fight. And there's a cutscene preceding it, so I'm not going to talk during the cutscene. I'll just let it play out and let you watch and enjoy. Okay, I gotta heal up Katari some, too, because he's a bit damaged. Okay. So, this is gonna illustrate the difference between the sword and the hammer here. So, I'll go with a slash first. Hit him with the slash. Oh, missed. Okay. I'll wait until I hit him with a slash. This boss has kind of a high avoid, right? Magic, heal. Alright, slash. There we go. 25 damage. Alright, and so now I'll switch to the hammer. And it should reduce my attack by 6. Let's see, yeah. So, equip the hammer. And now, strike with the hammer. It does a little more damage. At these levels, like, he doesn't have a ton of armor, so the difference isn't huge against him, but against an opponent who has a ton of armor, it would be a huge difference. Like, the sword, if he had more armor than the damage rating, then the sword would only do about 7 damage, whereas the hammer would do 24. So, it becomes a bigger difference the more armor the opponent has. I should have picked up some potions while I was in the town. You go to the hospital to get potions and stuff. I wasn't thinking about it. Don't really need them for the demo, but it would have been nice to have the other characters able to heal themselves instead of Katari having to do all of that. Oh, yeah. And Katari got the bleed status effect, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is actually one of the bugs here. So heal is supposed to cure the bleed status effect, but I don't think I fixed that one yet. It's on the list. Let's see. Yeah, so that'll be fixed for the demo tomorrow, but it's not fixed right now for me, so that's unfortunate for me. But everybody else tomorrow is going to get a version where it does cure that status effect, so... That would be kind of hilarious if I actually die. I don't think I will, but... yeah, I haven't done too much balancing on this fight yet, so... it's still a little bit tricky. Yeah, another thing I've been considering too is replacing evade with block, because evading in a fight is actually kind of difficult. Blocking is a lot easier, so I think I'm gonna make that sort of an additional reason to have shields. So instead of missing, you actually block. It's just a minor distinction, but I think attaching a block value to shields would make, you know, sort of a distinction between shields and armor, where, like, a shield gives you a chance to 100% block an attack. So we'll see. Everything's kind of in flux, because I'm still working on it. Yeah, I'm just gonna go into full attack. End it. There we go. That's totally not going to be a side quest later, by the way. By which I mean it is absolutely, definitely going to be a side quest. This is some prologue text. I'll make his image grayscale for this, but I haven't really had time to do that yet. Yeah, and so this is what that book in Anselton that I decided to skip for this video because I didn't want to do too much spoilers in it. that's what this book ties into. So if you've read that book in the demo, you will know exactly who Amalia is by this point. So it's kind of a little story reward for people who actually do the optional objectives. As if people don't do those optional objectives, they won't know who Amalia is yet by this point in the game. And there it is. So yeah, that's it for the demo. It's going to be publicly available tomorrow. There's going to be a download link on the Facebook fan page. You'll be able to find that. The link's in the description of the video, and in all likelihood, you probably started watching this video from there. But if you didn't, link's in the description, and I will be posting a downloadable demo on there tomorrow at 6 Eastern Time. So you'll be able to download the game, play it for yourself, the demo at least. And I'm hoping that the game will be finished by either very late this year or early next year. But no guarantees, just because I'm new to game making. There might be a whole lot more that I need to do, or I could finish it early. There's no real way to tell until I get there. So I'll be posting updates very frequently on the fan page on the progress. That segment there is the first sort of chapter of the game, and I'm expecting it to have 12 chapters, but there's also going to be a lot more side quests. So the game's gonna be substantially longer than like 12 times this. It's I'm expecting it to be between 20 and 40 hours, depending on how many side quests you do. If you do all the side quests, it'll be a very long game. If you don't do all of them, it'll be something you can knock out in a week. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah, I'll go ahead and end the stream now. If you have any questions, direct them to the fan page on Facebook, and I will attempt to respond to them in a timely manner. Thank you, and have a nice night.